Okay, today is July 11th, 2006. I am Jessica Clark. It is a pleasure to conduct this interview for the Dakota Memories Oral History Project in Tramping Lake, Saskatchewan. Can you please state your full name to begin with?
Rosa Laturnus.
Okay, and what is your maiden name?
Barbara. Oh, Schneider.
Schneider?
Rose Barbara Schneider. Eh?
Oh, Barbara's your middle name?
Yes.
Okay. Where were you born, Rose?
Scott, Saskatchewan.
Okay, and when were you born?
December 20th, 1925.
Okay. Did anybody ever share a story with you about your birth? Were you born in a house or in a hospital or?
I imagine a hospital, yeah.
Okay. What are some of your earliest memories from your childhood?
Playing with my brothers and sisters, doing chores, babysitting,
Okay.
stuff like that.
When you would babysit, was it for your brothers and
Yes,
sisters?
yes.
So were you the oldest?
No, not quite. Second oldest in the family.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
Well, there was 14 in our family, but we didn't all grow up together.
Okay.
Oh.
Can you take me from the oldest to the youngest?
Like what?
Just tell me their names.
Oh, okay. There's Mary, myself, Rose, Monica, Vincent, including the dead ones now, Frank. I don't know how they go. I should have my history book out here. Well, I can name them all, but maybe not. Frank, Andrew, Joe, Catherine, Martin, Clarence, Daniel, Lorraine, Wilma, and Balzer, and I think that's all.
Okay.
Have I got 14?
I didn't count. I should have counted at that time.
Oh, from Gerald. Yeah, I've got Gerald. So. Frank, Andrew, Clarence, and yeah.
Okay. So, who would you babysit? Would you babysit the younger children, all of them, or?
Up to ones that were born after 47, I didn't babysit them because that's when I got married again.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
You mentioned that some of your earliest memories are playing with your brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
What type of things would you do for fun?
We made fudge.
Fudge.
We played games out in the yard, tag, softball, stuff like that. Was nothing big those days, so that's about it.
With softball, was it store-bought equipment like balls and bats?
Yeah,
and
we had a softball and a bat store-bought, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have baseball gloves or?
No.
You used your bare hands?
Yeah, right on.
Okay. With 14 kids, you had enough people to play.
Yeah, well, like I say, they weren't all there at one time, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many were there when you were growing up until you got married?
Oh, gee. Well, 6. The youngest ones weren't even born yet when I got married, and then some had died before. So at least 6 of them weren't there at all anymore. So.
Who had died before you got married?
Well, I had 3 brothers that died.
Really? How'd they die?
I don't know anymore how they died.
Okay. Were you alive when they died? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember their funerals at all, or?
Oh, yeah.
What were they like?
Well, the one that died, he was only 3 days old, and my dad and myself and grandfather went to dig a grave for him out in the Revenue Cemetery. And the other ones were, one was 14, no, they were both 12, right. and they were buried also in Revenue Cemetery.
Did you have to help dig their graves as
No,
well?
no,
Just the
no.
little baby?
Yeah.
When you were growing up, what were winters like?
Cold and lots of snow. We always went with a sleigh in the wintertime. There's no such a thing as you went with a car. The car was put away for the winter. And then the roads used to get so high and they got so packed that the sleighs would upset on them. And we went to school with a horse and sleigh. Unless it was very cold, then our dad would take us. So that's the way it was in those days.
What type of clothing would you wear to keep warm?
Oh, we didn't have the clothing we have nowadays, I can tell you that. We didn't have no slacks. And we had just overcoats and toques and mitts and long stockings and overshoes.
Did the girls have to wear dresses when you were growing up?
Yes, yes. Well, like I said before, there was no such a thing as slacks for girls.
So was it, do you think it was colder because you were wearing dresses
Oh, yeah.
back then?
Maybe.
You mentioned that there was lots of snow. Do you think that there was more snow back then than there is today? Or?
I think so. I think so, yeah. Because these last few winters we've hardly had any snow, eh? So, but in those days when winter come, you had snow. That was it.
Where was your farm located that you grew up on?
Was east north of Revenue Town.
So fairly close to here.
Yeah, it's just up the road about whatever miles.
Okay. How about summer months? What were summer months like?
Summer months were hot, like hot, and some years was dry. Then, of course, we drove with the car, buggy, bicycles.
You had bicycles.
Yeah, we had a bicycle, yeah.
Okay.
We had to share with the whole family, but it was a bicycle. Yeah, and then, like I say, we used to get these awful thunderstorms, see? We had these telephone boxes on the walls. You remember them or heard about them, eh? The telephones were on the wall. And it was thunder and lightning so bad, the fire would come out of the mouthpiece. That's how bad electric storms were then.
Oh my goodness.
It might still be happening nowadays, but you don't notice it so much.
So did you ever experience a tornado or extreme?
Those days, I don't think so. It's not that we knew, probably. If there was one, we didn't know what it was, see?
What about in the wintertime, a blizzard? A
Oh,
bad
blizzard. You know, blizzard, 3 days sometimes, eh? And then you couldn't get out to the barn to feed the cattle and do the other chores. So just stayed in the house till it blew over.
You grew up during what they refer to as the dirty 30s.
Well, yeah, I lived through the dirty 30s, yeah.
What were those like?
Oh, that's when it didn't rain and the dust blew. Like inside the house, the table, it was all covered with dust. You had to clean before you set the table. And the dust blew up along the fence lines, as high as the fence. Maybe you don't know what a fence post is.
I know what it is.
As high as the fence posts and the wires, eh? Just fine dust, just real fine.
So what would you have to do to keep the fence? Would you have to clear away the dust?
No, well, the cattle wouldn't go because it was loose and it couldn't go over the fence. So.
Did you ever experience a severe dust storm?
Well, these were dust storms, yeah, that you couldn't see. Just like you have snowstorms in the winter, that was like dust storm.
Well, how often? You mentioned that you would have to dust off the table to serve dinner and stuff like that. So it was pretty impossible to keep the house clean.
For sure, yeah, because the windows and everything wasn't that airtight as it is nowadays, and it just blew in. Doors, windows.
How about your dad's crops? How did it affect your dad's crops?
I don't remember too much of that, but like he had poor crops and he had good crops. So, yeah.
What did you find especially beautiful about growing up on the plains?
Well, summertime I guess was the nicest of all. Like you could go outside and all the nice. Well, we had nice grass in our yard out back where we played. Then we had trees around the farm, birds. It was all nice.
The trees, were they planted by your dad?
I think my dad planted them, yeah.
Okay. And the grass, how was that something that was upkept by the family, like you would mow it?
No, we didn't have a thing as a lawnmower then. It's just, us kids trample it down with the animals. Well, we need it for grazing, eh?
Okay. What was unpleasant about growing up on the plains?
Well, probably these dust storms and the work we kids had to do, we thought was hard.
What types of chores did you have to do growing up?
We milked. I worked in the field because I was the second of family, like I said before, and the boys were younger, so I had to help my dad in the field. And then cleaning the barn and all that stuff, picking rocks, and what else did we? Weed the garden, hoe the garden. We picked all these weeds, they were day high. We put them on the little red wagon and haul them over to the pigs. And then, of course, the house chores. Each one had her own duties in the house. Some cooked, some cleaned, some watched the kids.
So what was your responsibilities in the house?
I mostly cleaned. I didn't do too much cooking at home because I was the outside girlie. So. And the washing we did, like we all joined in that. Washing, ironing, baking.
How would you do the washing? What would you use back then to wash laundry?
Well, from the beginning we had a tub and a scrub board. Then later on we got a washing machine that you had to, there was a handle on top, you had to rotate it, keep it going. And then later on, it was after I left, I guess they got an electric one, but I wasn't home for the electric one anymore.
What about for soap to wash the clothing? What would you use for that?
Usually homemade soap, made from lye.
Oh.
Yeah. Mother always made a whole batch of soap that lasted. We used like animal fat and other fat, like for the fat part of the soap, and then lye. That was our main soap. Well, for the washing up soap, we had bought soap. We didn't wash with lye soap.
Oh, okay, that was only for like laundry.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah.
So with that, how often would your mom have to make some of that soap for?
Well, maybe once a year.
Oh, okay, so it lasted quite a while.
Yeah. Well, you made a big batch at a time, eh? So.
How often did you do laundry?
Once a week.
Do you remember what day of the week?
Monday, of course.
Monday.
Monday was wash day, and Tuesday we ironed. Eh? Those days you ironed everything, you know.
What type of iron would you use? Because since it wasn't electric, how would
Sad irons. Okay. Heated on the kitchen range, eh?
Did you have ironing boards back then that you
No, not in our house. We didn't. We just put a sheet on the table and ironed on that.
What about drying the clothes? I imagine outside in the summer you could just hang them out, but what about the winter?
We hung them out too. They'd freeze so stiff, you bring them in, they'd break. And then we brought them in and hung them. I had clotheslines strung all over the room, see? Hung them up there.
Okay. So nowadays people have closets full of clothes. Mm-hmm. How many shirts and dresses and things did you have growing up?
Well, a Sunday outfit and school outfit, see? And we'd rotate. We maybe had 2 dresses for school, and then we'd Like one day we wore this, and the next day the other one, while the other ones were getting washed. Like, no, we didn't have too many clothes. And then Sunday clothes, they were a little bit better, eh?
How, we talked about Monday wash day, Tuesday ironing. When did you take? How often did you take baths?
Once a week, yes. No, unless we went someplace, we took baths. Eh?
Okay.
But not showers like we do every day now, because there was no such a thing. Eh?
And when would you take baths?
When? Saturdays usually. Eh?
Okay.
Well, like I say, sometimes during the week when it had to be.
And you said since they're not like showers we have today, what would you do to take a bath?
Well, we had bathtub, eh? Not bathtubs like we have now, but there were bathtubs.
Okay.
And the young ones got bathed in the wash tub.
Where you would wash laundry?
Yeah,
Okay.
the same tub, eh?
Okay. Did you have indoor water, or did you have to haul the water from somewhere?
No, we didn't. Well, we had a cistern in our house that was used for washing, but for drinking water we carried it from outside.
How far was the well from your house?
Oh, not that far away, but like we had a windmill for pumping water. In the wintertime we didn't use the windmill for some reason. We pumped all the water by hand for the cattle and other livestock and for the house. And sometimes in the winter for washing we'd melt snow, eh? Put a barrel in the house and fill it with snow. That was soft water then, eh? But we didn't drink that. So.
Were there any other days that were set aside for certain tasks during the week? You had Monday wash day, Tuesday ironing.
Well, we baked the same day we ironed because you had to have the stove going anyway. So we ironed and baked on the same day usually. And I guess the other days didn't matter what we did.
You mentioned baking and ironing on Tuesdays. In the summer, would that make the house quite hot?
It would. Yeah, it would.
What would you do to try to cool it down, or would you do anything?
Well, we didn't have any fans or anything like that. We just closed all the blinds, leave the doors closed. But in the summertime, we only slept in the house. We had a granny pulled up alongside the house. That's where we did the cooking so the house wouldn't get so hot. Eh? So we ate out, some call it the summer kitchen. Eh? Actually, it was just a granny in our house. With shelves and stuff put up, table chairs. And that's where we do our meals and the cooking. The stove was out there too. So the house would stay a bit cooler for sleeping.
You mentioned that you worked a lot out in the fields.
Yes.
As the second oldest. What type of work did you do out in the fields?
Well, anything that came, I plowed, I harrowed, I disked, I seeded, helped with the haying.
What type of farm equipment was on your farm when you were growing up?
We already had a tractor before I left home, and plows, diskers, seed drills. There wasn't too much machinery those days. So.
You mentioned that your dad got a tractor before you left the house.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember how that changed the farming operation?
Well, I guess it was easier for them. They didn't need that many horses anymore, for sure.
Did you ever get to work the tractor?
No. After I had left home.
With having all the horse-drawn equipment and farm labor, how long could a horse last out in the field?
Well, we used to work them in shifts, say maybe 4 hours, and then then it would be dinner time, but then you didn't work like from daybreak to sundown. Maybe 4 hours in the morning, and then they got an hour's rest. And if you had to use the same outfit, you went out after 1. And if you had more horses than 4, you traded horses, like then you could work longer.
crops did your dad have when you were growing up?
We had wheat, we had oats, and I remember one time we had rye. But that's the only time, just that 1 year. That was about it. That's what you see today, oats for the animals and wheat to sell.
Okay. Was it common back then for girls to work out in the field as much as you did when you were growing up?
Not usually, but were some families where they didn't have boys either. They had to work out. So.
Okay. Let's turn to family for a little bit. Did you know your grandparents?
Yes.
Let's start with your dad's parents. Did you know them?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. What were their names?
Joseph and Magdalene.
Okay.
Schneider, of course.
And what type of people were they?
They were very nice people. They're Russian descent.
Okay. Did they immigrate from Russia
Yes.
to Canada, or did they go?
Yeah, they came to Canada, yeah.
Okay. They came straight to Canada.
Schneider side did, yeah.
Okay. Do you know where they came over through Canada, where they landed and how they got over here, or?
Odessa.
Okay, they were in Odessa before they.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Did they settle in this area?
Well, they settled further south before they came to where they originally lived in the revenue district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. South in.
Prelate,
Okay.
Leader area, that area.
Okay. Let's see. Was your dad born in the U.S. or in Canada, or was
No,
he?
he's Russian born.
He was born in Russia, really.
Mm-hmm.
How old was he when?
I think 2 when they came to, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many children did they have when they came over to Canada?
They had them all. I think they had 2 children when they came to Canada. The rest are Canadian born.
Did you ever hear any stories about what Russia was like for your grandparents?
Not really.
How about any stories about their voyage over to North America?
I don't think any of that history either. I should.
How many children did they have?
9.
9 children. And your father then was
The second oldest. Yeah.
Okay. How often did you get to visit your grandparents when you were a child?
Quite often, eh? Oh, yeah, we're allowed to go to Grandma's often, yeah.
What types of things would you do at your grandmother's?
Oh, we'd go upstairs, or the uncles played the guitar, and they had comic books, and Grandma had candy in the drawer. And oh, we had lots of fun at Granny's house, yeah.
Did you ever stay the night at Grandma's house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where would you sleep?
Well, they had an upstairs house. We slept upstairs, see.
Let's look at your mother's parents. Did you know them?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
What were their names?
Martin and Agatha.
And their last name?
Weber.
Weber. Okay. And did they come over from Russia?
Mm-hmm.
Did they come straight to Canada, or?
Yeah, they must have come straight to Canada also, yeah.
And did they settle in this area as well?
In the revenue district, that's further north, eh?
Okay. Okay. And was your mother born in Russia, or was she born in the U.S.?
In the United States,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you know if they had any children before they left Russia, your grandparents?
I couldn't say that.
Okay.
I'm sure Angelina must have been born in Russia.
How many?
Like I say, it's all written down, but like you say, you didn't get that. So.
How many children did they have?
Well, when we were growing up, we only knew 4 of them, but they had more than that. They died when they were younger, as babies. So.
And And where was your mom in that family? What number was she?
What she? I can't say offhand. I'd have to look at the list.
Okay, that's fine. What can you tell me? What type of what your grandparents' characters were like? What type of people were they?
Grandfather Weber was, I think, strict. But Granny was easy to get along with. And they used to come to visit. Like they lived in another farm, and they'd come to visit. And after they moved to town, they still come to visit. He drove his own car.
What types of things would would your family do when they came out to visit?
Well, Grandpa, like I say, was not the one for to stay long. Then Grandma would say, "He's in a rush again." Eh? Then she'd go to the garden, pick herself a corn cob or two, eh? And little things like that. Eh?
Did you go and visit them?
Oh yes, oh yes.
What was that like?
That was nice too. We used to go to catechism in town, and that's where we'd go for lunch at Granny Weber's.
Was your grandma a good cook?
Oh yes, oh yes.
What types of foods would she make?
Noodles. Then she'd go and get the radishes ready for us. We'd come home, ate the radishes on her, and we went home.
Did you ever get to stay the night with your grandma?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what was that like?
Well, that was just one overnight stay that I could remember at the time. Even it was nice. She had a nice big bed, like big pillows.
Let's see here. Both your grandparents settled in relatively the same area.
Yes.
So how did your parents meet? Do you know?
Must have been neighbors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your dad's name?
Balzer.
And your mom?
Mary Eva.
Okay. And what type of person was your dad?
He was an easygoing man, good to get along with. He was good to us kids. Yeah.
I imagine since you worked out in the field that you were kind of close to your father, or?
Yes, I was, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What types of things would you do with your father when you were a kid?
Well, there wasn't too much to do besides work with them. Oh yeah, we'd play too, like he'd do, like in the wintertime especially, we'd play cards together. Then they would sing to us. It was nice.
What type of card games would you play?
Whist. That's the only one I can remember. Rummy. Like they'd always play rummy with the smaller kids. See.
How about your mom? Were you close to her?
She played cards with us too, and she sang to us. And oh yeah.
Do you remember any of the songs that they sang to you when you were a kid?
Not really. Oh.
Okay.
Just probably wasn't in tune that day.
So, singing, was that something that the entire family would do or your parents would do?
We'd all sing together, yeah.
Did anybody play a musical instrument?
Mother played a little bit on the organ, but later on my brothers played the guitar, and my own sister played the accordion, and a brother played the accordion.
Did they take lessons, or were they self-taught?
Well, my brother was self-taught, I guess. Well, my sister, I guess, took lessons, but it didn't amount to anything. I guess she played more by ear after, too.
Okay. When you think back on your parents, did they have a good marriage?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What types of things would they do when they weren't working?
They seemed they were always working. Well, like I say, play together and visit, go visiting, go to town, go to a show once in a while. That's what we did those days.
Your mom, did she have a garden?
Oh yes, like big gardens. We all helped in the garden.
What types of food would she grow in the garden?
Oh, we had all kinds of vegetables, potatoes and carrots and that kind, radishes and lettuce. And we didn't have any fruit except rhubarb.
So
No.
do you like rhubarb?
No, but we ate it.
What types of dishes would you make with rhubarb? How would you cook it?
Usually as a fruit,
Okay.
yeah. Or made pies with them.
With the garden, did your mom do a lot of canning?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, not so much vegetables, see, but she bought lots of fruit. Saskatoon berries, we canned a lot of them.
Saskatoon
Yeah,
berries.
they were wild ones. Went down to the pasture and picked Saskatoons. That was our main fruit. And garden stuff, I don't remember. We must have canned peas and corn, I guess we canned. And those were root vegetables, so you put them down the basement.
Did you help with the canning process?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We all had to help with that.
Besides fruits and vegetables, would your mom can anything else?
Well, bought in fruit, like buy pears, peaches, stuff like that,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
How about butchering and sausage making? Were those things that your family did?
Yes. Butcher the beef once a year, like in the wintertime. And a pig, I guess, whenever meat was needed, like with our own pigs. And we'd make sausages and hams and cure the hams in salt brine. And sausage, like, and head cheese.
Head cheese.
Head cheese, yeah. You don't know what head cheese is? It was a meat made out of the pig's head. You use the meat and the tongue and the fat, like, and the skin. Or shell. You know what head cheese is. When you buy it in the store, head cheese.
I've never
bought
head cheese.
It's a shell meat, eh?
Okay.
Then you had to put some of the skin in because that's where the shell is, eh? And then you eat it cold.
Is it tasty?
Well, we liked it.
It sounds interesting. With the sauce, what about sausage making? Would you help with that?
Yes.
What was that? What did that process entail?
Well, the neighbors usually come in to help when butcher, like my dad and mother would help the neighbors, and then they come back in return help. And the men usually made the sausage, eh? They had a machine. First we had a grinder. You know what a meat grinder is?
Mm-hmm.
We ground the meat like that, and then they mixed it with the seasonings, lots of garlic, and then they pushed it through this tube. You put the casings on the end of that tube, and then you filled that thing with meat, and you pushed it through to make the sausages.
Where would you get the casings from?
Well, usually from the pig.
Okay.
The bowels, like you clean them. Sometimes you could buy them, eh? If you didn't have the time to clean them. So.
What animals, you mentioned so far pigs and horses and cows, what other animals were on the farm?
Well, we had chickens and ducks.
Were they all used for food purposes for the family, or?
Well, the ducks, they were for feathers, and meat. And the chickens, well, that's just eat chicken.
So the feathers, what would you do with the feathers? The
Put them in the pillows.
Oh. Okay.
And quills, feather ticks they used to call them in those days. Built this big tick with feathers, and that was the warmest thing on those cold winter nights.
So, with so many kids in a house, what size of a house did you have?
I don't know the dimensions, but there's a bedroom, a front room, and a kitchen. And we had a basement, a dirt basement, of course. Actually, it was cemented out later. And then we had 2 rooms upstairs.
Okay. Where would all the kids sleep?
Well, the younger ones slept downstairs and the older ones upstairs.
Okay. Did you have each of you have your own bed, or would you have to share beds?
No,
How
we
did
shared beds, see. Well, the smaller ones would sleep 3 in a bed, the bigger ones 2 in a bed. But like I say, we weren't there that many at one time. The younger ones weren't born yet, and the other ones had died. So.
What type of mattress did you have? Was it a store-bought mattress, or was it a homemade?
A store-bought mattress,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did the family keep the house warm in the wintertime?
With heaters, kitchen stove, and a heater in the front room. Eh?
What would you use to heat the house, though?
Wood and coal.
Okay. So there was enough wood around that.
Oh yes, we lived beside the railroad track, and we got the ties.
Did those burn pretty quickly, or?
Oh yes, some did, yeah.
Okay.
And then the occasion time we had to buy wood to burn, because it just wasn't enough.
We've talked a little bit about the types of foods your mom grew in the garden and the animals that were raised. What were some of the meals that your mom used to prepare?
Well, it could be roast beef, roast pork, chicken, even duck. Like sometimes we butchered the ducks off in the fall. Like we didn't keep the 2. I guess we kept over winter for next season. Well, the rest were butchered off. Eh?
So when you would butcher a duck, what would you do it similar to a chicken? I mean, how would you butcher a duck?
Same as you butcher a chicken. Cut his head off and gut it and put it in the oven.
Okay. So do you still like duck and chicken today?
Yes, I do. Well, we buy ducks now. We have it once in a while.
What other types of foods would your mom make?
Well, so usual cabbage rolls.
Cabbage rolls. What are those?
Or ground up beef mixed with rice, and you put them in a cabbage leaf. But we made sauerkraut also, and we always put a big head into the middle of the shredded cabbage. That would get sour then. That's what you use to make cabbage rolls. Whereas nowadays we just use green cabbage for that. Doesn't taste quite as good.
So making sauerkraut, how would you make sauerkraut?
Well, you take we grew the cabbage in the garden too. You took a head of cabbage and you ground it up on this grater, and you put it in a crock, usually a 10-gallon, earthenware crocks, and you pound it down so the juice forms. You add a salt to every layer, and then when you got that full, you put a head of cabbage in, so for later on, and then you filled some more sauerkraut, maybe another head of cabbage, and you pounded that with whatever you had. They had a mallet or whatever they call it, was a round thing, flat in the bottom. You pound it down, and then it gets juicy, and then you cover it with a weight to keep it under the juice, and put a cloth on top, and that was it.
How long would it take for it to be ready?
Not very long. Within a week, it'd be ready to eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is sauerkraut something you would have quite often when you were growing up?
Oh yeah. Meat, potatoes, and sauerkraut. That was a main dish.
I've heard that that sauerkraut tastes a lot different than store-bought sauerkraut.
Oh yes. No comparison. Yeah. But we don't make it anymore because it's like I'm alone here now, and the other family here doesn't eat sauerkraut, so don't even bother with that anymore.
Nobody in the family likes it?
The 1 or 2 of them will eat it. I usually tell them, if you'd been a kid when I was a kid, you would have learned to like it.
I love sauerkraut.
No.
Let's see here. Okay, so sauerkraut and the meats. What was a common or traditional breakfast that the family would have?
Porridge. Porridge.
What's that?
Oh, oatmeal cooked up.
Oh, okay.
And cornmeal, wheatlets, see. And Sunny Boy, I remember we used to have a lot of Sunny Boy at home. And then, of course, cornflakes. And cornflakes was cheap then.
Was coffee common for breakfast in the morning?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And milk, coffee and milk. Like we...
What about the juices that we see today, like orange juice or
No.
things like that?
Maybe the odd time you... But not like it is today. You have orange juice every day. No way. We had milk, milk in every meal. Because we had our own cows, we had milk.
Was it cold milk or was it...
Well, however you wanted to. There was no fridges. So we had an ice house out back. You had to carry the milk out to the ice and bring it back in every meal time, carry it out again, bring it back, carry it out. But I didn't drink milk, so it didn't matter to me if it was warm or cold.
Did you not like the taste of it, or was
I
it
just,
allergies? Or...
no, I just didn't like it.
Okay.
I still don't.
So what did you drink instead of milk?
Well, coffee or tea, water.
Was it okay for you when you were a kid to drink coffee?
Oh, yeah.
Your parents
Oh,
would let
yeah.
you drink?
We had another drink, they called it cider, eh? You got these packages, you mix with water. Just like Kool-Aid or something nowadays, eh?
Okay. With the coffee, was it something that you would have black, or would you have it with sugar?
Sugar and cream.
Okay.
I think everybody has sugar and cream in their coffee those days.
How do you get cream? How do you make cream?
Well, you separate the milk. The milk from the cows, you put through a separator, the milk comes out one spot, the cream the other.
Okay.
And that's nice, thick cream, not like what you buy in the store nowadays. And we had cream on everything. My husband used to say, the Schneiders had cream on ice cream yet.
Well, how would you make ice cream?
Well, you know what an ice cream freezer is? You don't? It was a big wooden tub with a canister on the inside. You mixed your custard for your ice cream, like and you put it in that inside tub, and the outside you filled with ice and salt. Then you turned the crank till it froze.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How long would it take cranking on that for?
Not too long. Everybody took turns turning it. And we usually had once a week homemade ice cream, real cream.
You mentioned an ice house, that you had an ice house
Mm-hmm.
out back to keep the milk cool. What's an ice house?
Well, it was a hole dug in the ground, maybe 8 feet by 8 or something, like 6 by 6, whatever people wanted, eh? And then you fill that with ice during the winter. Usually they'd let the water trough full of water, and then it froze, and you chip it out in chunks, whatever, eh? And haul it and throw it in this hole till it was full. And then sometimes you put water on top of that, it filled the cracks in, and it would freeze. And then you put straw on top of that to keep it cold, eh?
So
And
would that last all summer?
just about, yeah, till the fall.
What about cheese? How would you make cheese?
Cheese, we only made homemade cheese. Cottage cheese, well, you soured some milk, eh? Whey, curds and whey. And then you crumbled it, and that was cottage cheese. And you could also take that and put it in the pan and cook it. That gave homemade cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you call, what was your noon meal called when you would eat in the afternoon? Was it?
Dinner, I guess we called it, yeah, in our house, eh?
Okay.
And the other meal was supper, eh?
Okay, so what would you have for dinner, typically?
Well, it all depends what they were doing, I guess, what kind of work, and well, probably soup and sandwiches or whatever, like something like that.
Okay. Nowadays, you can get a variety of soups. Were you able to make a variety of soups back then? Or?
Oh, it's mostly homemade soup, noodle soup or tomato soup. Or I don't recall that we ever took soup out of a can when I was home.
How did you make tomato soup?
With fresh tomatoes, you cook them up, and you'd not like this canned tomato soup you buy. This had tomatoes in it.
So it was like more of a vegetable?
No, it's just tomatoes.
Okay.
And you added a sauce like flour and milk, salt and pepper. That's it.
And then we've talked about some of the suppers you've had with the meats and stuff, right? Those were the supper dishes? The chickens and the duck?
Yeah.
Okay. What about German dishes? Did your mom make any really good German
Well,
dishes?
they had what they call cream noodles and what they call the other ones. It's just noodles that you rolled out and you cut them in strips. You cooked them and potatoes together. That was a main meal, eh? And then there were pierogies. We made pierogies with that cottage cheese. Those were German dishes.
Did you teach your children some of those German dishes?
I think so. I don't think they use any. They don't like sauerkraut. They don't like cottage cheese.
What about desserts? What would your mom make for desserts?
Well, like I say, there'd be rhubarb fruit, and then there'd be Saskatoon fruit, and occasional button fruit, and pie, lots of pies, apple pies, lemon pies, custard puddings. We all had to learn to make that. So that was main stuff.
Was dessert an occasional treat, or was it something that you would have after your supper meal?
Well, usually we had something after supper,
Okay.
but pie was usually reserved for Sunday. So.
Okay. Was Sunday meals or dinner and supper usually different than what you would have during the week?
Not really.
What was your favorite dish when you were growing up? Your favorite meal?
Oh, gee, I don't know. Ice cream, probably.
Ice cream.
I don't know if I had a favorite dish.
How about least favorite? Something you really didn't like eating?
Well, I didn't like milk, so.
No.
But I like custard made with milk. No, I don't think it was too fuzzy.
Did you like cottage cheese and?
Yeah, we ate cottage cheese and,
So you like
and
milk
sauerkraut.
products, but not milk.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Holidays. Let's talk about holidays for a while. How was Christmas celebrated in your house?
No, we didn't. Well, we had a tree, an artificial ones at that time already. Little candles, live candles. Oh, I don't think anybody ever got burned. Not that I can recall. And then we all got a little present, not much, but whatever we got was appreciated, and that's about it.
The present that you would usually get, was it a practical gift, or was it something that
Practical, yeah.
was practical?
Hankies, or sometimes we'd get chocolates, or a piece of jewelry, whatever. Boys would get balls.
Was there a Santa Claus back then, or?
At the school there was, but not at our house.
Okay.
We didn't have Santa Claus. We had Christmas concerts at the school, and that's where we also got a present usually from the teacher or from somebody, and that's where Santa Claus came.
So, the Christmas concert, was that something the kids would put on for the community?
Yes. Yeah. The whole school was involved in that.
Would that be on Christmas Day, or when would
No, it was just before Christmas usually, because we get Christmas holidays after that.
Okay.
So.
Would your family do anything for Christmas Eve?
Yes, you go to midnight mass. That was a must.
How far was the church from where you were living?
What did we have to go to? 4 miles, 5 miles, something like that. Yeah. Mhm. And then
How would you get there in the wintertime? I mean,
with a closed-in sleigh or an open sleigh or the bobsleigh. Excuse me. And then there used to be 3 masses. We go at midnight and stay for the daybreak mass, and then go home and go back to daytime mass. Because my dad was very rich, as you had to go to church.
what was church like back then?
Oh, it was beautiful. Everything in Latin. The mass is Latin. And good choirs.
Was anything in German when you were going to church?
Oh yes, oh yes. The hymns were usually in German, like the sermons were in German, sometimes English and German. And of course, like I said, the Mass was in Latin. Yeah.
What church did you go to?
St. Charles at Revenue, and then later on Tramping Late, of course.
St. Charles, is it still
No,
open?
no,
Okay.
it's not even there anymore.
How about Tramping Lake?
It's still, Tramping Lake is still here, yeah.
Is it still have services?
Oh yes, yes.
Really?
What,
When you were attending the one in Revenue, how large was the congregation?
oh, the church was usually full. I don't know how big, like, size it was, but it had a loft. The choir was in the loft. And a few of the men were a lot up in the loft. There was no women up there, except the ones that were in the choir. But they had a mixed choir in Revenue.
When you would go to church, how would people sit in the church?
Well, from the beginning, men sat on one side, the women on one, and the children up front. So everybody that went to school had to sit up front. In France, the sisters, they had sisters teaching at Revenue at the time. So they looked out for the kids. The kids sat in front of them.
So they knew that they would behave?
Yeah, right on. And they did.
The priest at your church, was he there for a while, or would he change often?
Well, they changed, but usually they were there for a good while. Eh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you were a kid, did you find the priests approachable, or were they kind of
No,
intimidating?
you were scared of priests then. Not like they have for nowadays to join in with everything, eh? Well, maybe they did then too, but it seemed different. But you respected the priest, eh?
What type of church activities, did you participate in when you were a child?
They used to have sports days. They play ball, races. And then later on they had these bazaars where you had supper and dinner there, eh? And then they had auction and bingos and games for the kids and stuff like that.
So it was really a central part of the community.
Yes,
the life of the
yes,
community.
that, yeah.
Okay. You mentioned that they had sports and playing ball and stuff. Did you participate in that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Can't recall that I did.
Do you remember your first communion?
Mm-hmm.
How old were you?
I must be about 10. Because they didn't go every year those years, because sometimes there weren't enough. So my sister next to me, younger, and I went together. Eh? So, yeah.
What would you have to do to prepare for that?
You'd have to go to catechism for 2 weeks. The nuns taught you catechism and also the priest. Eh?
So when you would do that, did your parents bring you in every day to town, or?
Sometimes, but usually we walked. Like I said before, we lived beside the railroad track. We went out onto the railroad track and walked to town.
Did a lot of trains go by in those days?
I think we had trained twice a week, and later on just once a week.
Let's see here. What about Were there Sunday school or anything like that?
Oh, we called it catechism meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in the summertime, during the holidays, we had to go 2 weeks to catechism during that time.
Let's see here. Were there any other religious activities that you used to participate in? Something that I'm learning more about is names days. Is that something that your family celebrated?
Oh yes, the whole community did. If you had a name named after a saint, they celebrated.
How would you celebrate a names day?
Well, in our house, people come, usually relatives and neighbors, and we'd make a meal for them and lunch, and we had a music. They danced and drank liquor.
Homemade liquor?
Sometimes I think it was homemade liquor, yeah.
Okay.
Homemade wine, bought in wine. I don't remember, I must have had beer too. Oh.
Okay, one of the things your daughter had mentioned during the break was sharing clothing, shoes and things like that. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we were all actually the same size, some of us, so, and with all the kids we had at home, some had to stay home with the kids, well, then one babysat and the other went to church or wherever. So we usually had the same coat or a pair of overshoes we shared.
When you would share shoes or coat, how would that, I mean, would somebody go without shoes for the day? I mean, how would that work?
I don't think we shared shoes, just overshoes.
What's the difference between shoes and overshoes?
Well, overshoes is something you pull over your shoes for snow or rain or whatever.
Okay. So would the other person that didn't have the overshoes?
Well, that's the one that stayed home.
Okay. What about, let's also clarify real quick before we get into other stories. The story of your mother and where she's from. Your grandparents, where did they immigrated from?
Russia.
Russia.
Yeah.
And they came
To the States.
through the States up to Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, and so where was your mother born?
Well, she was born in the States. And,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. And what year was she born in?
1904.
1904? Okay. Sounds good. When we ended, we were talking a little bit about holidays and religion. So let's talk about the rosary. What was tell me a little bit about the rosary.
Well, we had this season called Lent, 40 days before Easter. And then you said the rosary at home, and all the kids all had to kneel down by a chair instead of a bench or whatever. Each one had a chair. And Dad would lead the rosary, and of us responded. And that was said every day, every evening, like usually after supper, okay. or sometimes before supper. And all the family took part in it.
Was there an occasion where your dad fainted or something?
Oh, one time he was leading the rosary and he didn't feel good, I guess. He got up to go out, and then in the room he fell. Just fainted. I don't know what for, but...
How would your family celebrate Easter?
Well, we went to Mass, and there was this Holy Week. There's Mass 4 times that week. We went to every one, And then Easter Sunday, of course, it was a bigger celebration. And that's it, I guess, Easter. Then Easter Monday there was a dance after 40 days of not doing any. You weren't actually supposed to do any. What would you call it? Entertainment, As if we had that much entertainment those days. And then Easter Monday, like a celebration, had a dance in the Revenue Hall. That was a big thing to look forward to.
So during the 40 days for Lent, you couldn't sing or...
Well, you weren't supposed to dance, or sometimes you'd make a sacrifice of some kind. After we were married here, penance you called it, went without cream in my coffee. And I stuck to it, And still to this day don't take cream in my coffee. So little things like that you give up,
Okay.
Or some wouldn't eat candy or sweets or during that time.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you do this?
Well, it's our religion, eh? The Catholic religion, that's what you did. To suffer along with Christ, I guess, eh? So,
And some of the traditions that are common with Easter today, like an Easter bunny or the hallmark of the Easter holiday we've come to associate with that holiday today, were those common back then?
yeah, we had Easter bunnies then already, eh? And usually, as far as I could remember, it was green already in that time of the year, eh? Or sometimes Easter's in March. There wasn't no green grass then. We go out and make nests in the grass, and of course, by next morning there were Easter eggs in it.
Did you color Easter eggs?
Oh yes, we colored Easter eggs, eh? Used some with bought and dye and some homemade dyes, eh? Onion skins and beet juice and stuff like that. They all colored.
Something that I forgot to ask you when we were talking about your grandparents and your parents is language. What language did they speak when you were growing up?
Oh, German.
Okay.
I don't think, well, they could understand some English later on, but it mainly now was German.
When you were addressing your grandparents, how would you address them?
Well, we talk in German. Well, we all talked German at home, eh? Before we spoke English, so we could talk to them. Oh, yeah.
Did you ever communicate in English with them, or was it always
Not
German?
that I recall. No. I don't know how the younger ones got on with them.
What about your parents? Did you speak German with your parents?
Oh yeah, we all spoke German at home. Yeah.
Did they speak English?
Oh yeah, they could speak English too.
Okay.
Picked it up. Eh?
Did you continue the German language with your daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She could speak good English, German one time. I don't know if she still can or not.
Okay. We also had talked a lot about food in the first tape, but we didn't discuss pig's feet and chicken feet.
Oh,
You
yeah,
want to tell
I
me
know.
a little bit about those?
Well, the chicken feet, you just cook them along with the chicken, but you peel them, that yellow skin they have on, you peel that off. And it's just tiny little bones, you suck them clean. Tastes good. And pig's feet, well, you clean them and you cook them, and they got that shell in them. You ate that cold also.
Did they have names that you would call it in like a German dish name?
Korodets.
How do you say it?
Korodets.
Korodets?
Something like that.
Okay.
That was the pig's feet.
Would those be meals that you would eat, like a dinner meal, or?
Yeah, you just, like today we got the sandwich, we would have had that for lunch, eh?
Okay. What about the vegetable soup that you had mentioned? What is
Oh, borscht.
borscht?
Borscht.
And what was that? What did that consist of?
Well, all the vegetables that you could find in the garden. There's potatoes and carrots and cabbage and onions and tomatoes and...
Did you have that one quite often?
Oh yeah, like especially when you had fresh garden stuff.
The other thing that we never got onto are the ammonia cookies. Do you want to tell me a little bit about those?
Oh, my mother always baked them at least twice a year, Christmas and Easter. It was a special occasion, eh? And she'd bake them just perfect. They had to be just round, eh? If there was an oblong one along, that got put away. That wasn't good. That was the kids to eat. She baked them twice a year, and she was famous for them, eh?
How would you make those?
Well, it's just a cookie dough, like, and you put this ammonia in, and it's an awful strong, what you would call it, aroma, I guess. And when they baked it, like it was like ammonia in the air, eh? So the ammonia sometimes was hard to get. It was a powder, just like baking powder, that shape, like. Eh?
Is that a treat that you still make today, or?
No, I've only tried it once or twice, and they don't turn out, so I don't make them.
When did your parents get married? What year?
1921.
1921. And when were you born?
In 25.
1925. So they started having kids right after they got married.
Yeah. Right.
And do you know what year the youngest one was born in?
51, I think.
Okay, so there's quite the age
Oh, yeah.
span between the children. Okay.
Well, my oldest sister's 84 now. So.
Let's see here. Tell me a little bit about threshing time. What was threshing time like?
Oh, that was hard work threshing time. My grandpa owned a threshing machine. And of course, like his sons, like my dad and uncles, they all helped. And then they'd start out at Grandpa's farm and they'd thresh there. And then they'd move on to the sons' farms. And usually were about 6 or 8 hay racks. What you called hay racks, where you threw the sheets, the stooks. I made stooks first, and then when they were dry, they threshed them. You'd throw them on a rack and haul them to the machine and throw them in, which I was a part of.
What would you do?
Well, I ran a team, what they called it at the time, a team with a rack. And from the beginning, we were too weak yet. I and my cousin had to be on one rag, because we were both too weak to have one of our own.
So, threshing time, from my understanding, I wasn't raised on a farm, so. But my understanding is that happened right around the time school was starting or was going on?
Yeah, it was same time as combining, like when the.
Okay.
But you what you call binder, they made these sheaves, this machine. And then it was usually during like the summer holidays, and then it got on to, sometimes school would start and sometimes not, just like with the combining now.
So since you were so important to the farm when you were growing up, would your father hold you out of school to help during threshing time?
I maybe wasn't going to school anymore then, I can't remember.
Okay.
I must have been, but I didn't have to miss school for that though.
Okay. Seems like a great transition to talk about school. What was school like when you were a child?
Well, there was no power there, We had a telephone in school though. And of course the kids used to play tricks on the teacher, go into the cloakroom and ring the school number and then hide under the coats. Of course the teacher would go to answer the phone, there's nobody there. Later on the telephone was put into the teacherage, maybe just for that reason. And then, of course, we got there in the morning. It was cold, and they all stand around the fire, the big pot-bellied thing. And it had a rail around it, and that's where you hung on till your skirt caught fire. More than once, some of it was burning. And then, of course, pipes all along the ceiling. And one of the boys used to have to go down the basement and bring up the coal for the heater. I don't remember we had coal outside, it was usually in the basement. No washrooms, like you had to go to the outdoor bathrooms.
What would you use for toilet paper back then? Did they have toilet paper?
No, catalogs and stuff. Usually the wrappers from apples or oranges. Those green wrappers, that was a good thing for the toilet.
I know in the States they had Sears Roebuck and Montgomery Ward. What type of catalogs did they have up in Canada when you were a child?
Eaton's and Simpson's. Okay. The one that's Sears now.
Okay.
Well, Simpson's first, and then it went to Simpson's, Sears. Now it's only Sears.
So when you were going to school, you were in a one-room schoolhouse, right?
Yes.
It was a country school?
Yes.
How far was the school from your farm?
3.5 miles, somewhere in there.
How would you get there?
Well, we had our buggy and horse in the summer. Unless the horse were needed in the field, then we had to walk. And sometimes Mother drove us. Or if it's something else, Dad would drive us if he had time. But usually we went by ourselves. We had what we call the school horse. We had 2 of them. We changed off one day Daisy and the next day Fanny. But we wanted Daisy. Fanny was so wild. She's shy at everything. She'd run, And then a piece of paper fluttered off where she'd run to the side, and a car came along. She was shy of that. One time, I guess we weren't paying much attention, whatever. My older sister was driving. And I know what she shied from, and she went to the side of the road, and the wheel went over something, and I fell out of the buggy, and the wheel went over me.
Were you injured?
No.
No?
Probably didn't even tell her when we got home.
Oh my goodness. What would you do in the wintertime? Was that how you would get to school, was the horse and buggy program?
Yes, a closed-in. Sometimes it was the open one. From earlier years later on was a closed-in cutter.
So at the school then, did they have a barn where you could...
Yeah, we put the horses in the barn, and sometimes we brought a bundle of oats along, give them that a noon hour. When we had our lunch, we'd go out and feed the horse also.
Speaking of your lunch, how would you take a lunch to school?
In a syrup pail.
Syrup pail?
Syrup pail.
So is that, I've never
You
seen
don't
a
know
syrup pail.
syrup pail? Well, they came in all sizes. First there was a little one, then a bigger one, and then a 10-pound one. I mean, that's usually what we have. Had a lid on it, and a handle.
Okay.
And, some had sort of lunch boxes, but we didn't have a lunch box at the time.
What would you take for lunch in your syrup pail?
At this time of the year, like when spring, we'd have what I had for lunch the other day. A piece of butter bread with lettuce on and sugar on top of that. That's what we got in the early spring, eh?
Really?
And later on, we'll have meat sandwiches and so. And usually a piece of cake or a cookie or something. And in the wintertime, some took milk, but of course I didn't. And was left in the cloakroom till dinner time.
Nowadays, when students start school, there's a list of things that they need to get. Pencils and paper, and it goes on and on. Rulers and crayons. What type of school supplies did you need when you were going
We
to school?
needed what they call scribblers nowadays. See, those days they called them scribblers, now they're notebooks, whatever. And we had to have a pencil and an eraser and a box of crayons. And all the parents had to buy that. It wasn't supplied by the school unit. That's about it, see.
Okay. What subjects were taught in school?
Well, there was reading, writing, arithmetic, spelling, geography they called it that time. What was the other one? Nature study. Now it's science. Nowadays it was nature study. And that was about it.
Okay. What was your favorite subject?
I didn't like, history we had yet. I didn't like history. And I didn't like geography. And I wasn't too keen on nature study either. There's very little left. I was good at spelling.
Okay.
Good at spelling. Arithmetic I didn't mind either.
So were you a good student overall?
I passed every grade. I never failed. So got by.
How many years of schooling did you have?
8. I passed grade 8.
Okay. Was there ever any talk of you going on to high school?
No, we just didn't do that. There was very few from our school that went further than, well, maybe grade 9 or 10.
Okay.
The odd one that went to something, teacher or...
When you go into a one-room schoolhouse, how is it set up?
Well, we used to come in the entrance, and then there was a cloakroom on either side, one for the boys, one for the girls. And those 2 doors led into the classroom. So.
Did you have assigned seats in the classroom, or could you sit wherever you wanted?
Well, sitting according to the grades, see? Grade 1 in front, and then 3, all that way back to whatever grades they were teaching.
How many students were in the school when you were
Oh, gee, I
attending?
couldn't say. Must be at least 40 or more.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So there's a good number. Was there only one teacher?
Yes, only one teacher.
Was the teacher there year after year, or would you get new teachers every year?
Well, some were there a long time, and some were just a year. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember any teachers standing out in your mind as being a great teacher?
Well, I remember my grade 1 teacher yet. He was there for more than 1 year. I liked him. Well, I didn't have no problems with the teachers.
Okay. You mentioned the kids doing a little mischief with the phone. What were other type of mischievous acts that children would get into?
I can't recall. Probably locking the girls in the toilets or something like that. And yeah. When the school was, the telephone was still in the school, they'd go over to the teachers and tell the teacher to come over. There's a phone call for him. They come over because April Fools.
So April Fools, was that something that they would?
Yeah, you had to watch for that. Like say, a phone call. That was, well, you didn't get phone calls very often. Of course, there's a phone call for you. You fell for it. It was April Fool.
Holidays, were they celebrated in school when you were growing up? Like Christmas and Valentine's Day and Halloween?
Well, we usually had a party like among the class. Each kid made a Valentine for the other kids. They all got Valentines. Had a post office for a box, decorated. That was the post office. You put your Valentines there, and then one of the kids would distribute them. And Christmas, we had our Christmas concert. I don't think we did anything for Easter. Not
About
that
Halloween?
Halloween? Oh, we had a Halloween party too, yeah. Decorate the whole school and Halloween stuff. Had a tub of apples to bob for. Oh. I don't think we dressed up. Can't recall. Oh. And played other games,
What about birthdays? Would a student's birthday be celebrated?
No, nothing birthdays in school, no.
The population of the school, was it largely male, female, or pretty mixed?
I think it's pretty mixed. Mm-hmm.
How about religion-wise? Was it primarily Catholic?
Yes, more Catholic than Protestants.
Okay. What about ethnicity? Was it a largely German, Russian community, or was it?
More Germans,
Okay.
Very few English families in the district.
What were recess hours like? What type of activities would the children participate in?
Well, you were all supposed to go out and play, cold or not. Some didn't go out, the older grades, I remember that. But we got dressed up, went out those 15 minutes, whatever recess was, played in the snow, or like this winter time we played the fox and the goose, and I know what else we played in the winter time. Oh, we slid down the coal shed, like.
With sledding, would you have your own? Would you have a sled, like a store-bought
Well,
sled?
some had sleds they brought to school, and some used just the cardboard, and some just went down on the behinds.
Any other activities you did in the wintertime?
Well, summertime we played more other games like the pom-pom pull away, anti over, run sheep run.
Run sheep run. What's run sheep run?
Well, there was a leader. She had a group. Well, usually just the girls played this. I don't know why. Because the boys were playing ball or whatever. There's two leaders, and each one had maybe 5 or 6 on their side. Then this leader would take her sheep and hide them around the schoolyard. There was not many places to hide. It was behind the school, behind the barn, behind the teacher. And then, well, we count to 10. Well, now you can look. And then this other group would go and look for those sheep that were hidden. And then when they got close, the leader would say, "Run, sheep, run!" And of course, they all tried to run home, before they were caught.
Sounds like it's a fun one.
Stupid game, And then touch tag. Wherever they touched you, you had to hold that spot and chase the other one, Sometimes they touch you on your leg. Well, how can you hold your leg and run at the same time? That used to be fun.
What about gophers?
No gophers, there were lots of gophers. At home, we had a lake in the yard, and there's all kinds of gopher holes around that lake. And we had a dog. So us kids, of course, you're not supposed to go to the lake, but we need water for these gophers. We had a little pail, and we'd carry pail after pail into these gopher holes, till finally it came out on the other side. And either someone would club it over the head, or the dog would get it. And then we'd cut their tails off and sell them. I don't remember, we kids took them away. Dad must have taken them. And then we set traps also, like put the trap down the hole. And then when you caught one, you took the trap and hit it on the ground.
Do you know why the gopher tails were worth money?
So people would catch them or get rid of them, eh?
Okay.
They're overpopulated.
They were ruining the farming.
Yeah, they'd eat crop in the spring. Well, in the spring, at home, we have to do that, and since I'm here too, early in the spring, before there's anything green for the gophers to eat, you went out and laid poison. You put maybe a tablespoon or something by every hole that looked like it's been lifted. And that's the way you poisoned the gophers that time.
Were there any other type of pests that you had to take care of when you were growing up?
Well, we had grasshoppers, but one year they were bad, like we had to put bait out for them, or spread bait. But other than that, I don't think there was anything. Mosquitoes, of course.
When do we not have those?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're up in Canada, but one of the bugs that bug me, ticks. Do you have lots of ticks up here?
I don't think so.
You had noted down when that you wanted to talk about when you would ride your bike into town for groceries.
Oh yeah, or not so much for groceries, but like if there's an article too we needed, we'd bring it back on the bike. We'd go to town to get the mail mostly, the bike. Yeah,
so the mail, you'd have to go pick that up at town. It wasn't delivered back
No.
Okay.
And then sometimes we'd go to the buggy. It all depended what day it was. We took cream to the train, a can of cream, to the train station. That's when we went with the buggy. Of course, when Dad and Mother went, they went with the car, but us kids couldn't drive at the time yet, so. The cream also was picked up at the farm during a certain time. A truck would come from bigger towns and pick up these cream cans in and take it to our. One was into Alberta, I remember, and sometimes it took it to Bigger. And then after that quit, I don't know, did we not have any more cream to ship then or what? But we used to ship 3 or 4 cans a week. Like sometimes we'd have to wait till the creamery truck came and took the can off the truck and washed it out and rinsed it, put the cream in, they'd take it away. And later on we got more cans, so they didn't have to wait. You just like had enough cans to go.
How many bicycles did you have on your farm?
We just had one at home.
So when you would ride a bicycle and it would be by yourself?
Yeah.
Yourself. Did you ever ride the bicycle to school or to church?
No.
Or?
No.
Okay. We talked about the church or the school being primarily German Russian and primarily Catholic. Was the community in general that way as well?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you were a young adult, you know, in your teenager years, would you go to dances?
Oh yes. Like I said, they used to have these Easter dances and Christmas dances. And then some throughout the year yet. And then we had school dances. I imagine those school dances were to raise money for Christmas concert or whatever.
When were those usually held?
Well, the big ones were in the Revenue Hall, Christmas and Easter. But I think the other ones were for school. Like I said, they probably were to raise money for Christmas concert or whatever. So they must have been before Christmas or in the fall sometime, yeah.
Okay. Would they be on a Saturday or
Probably Friday nights.
Friday
Yeah.
nights? How old were you when you started going to these dances?
Oh, I can't recall when we were allowed to go along to the school dances. Maybe 14, 15, something like that.
Were these places to meet boys or to socialize?
No, it was just socializing.
What other types of activities did you do during your teenage years?
Visit the neighbors. Go to shows once in a while.
What type of shows?
Oh, sometimes they were Western. We didn't care what they were as long as it was a show.
Where would you go to see these shows?
Well, we used to have in the Revenue, like our little town, every Sunday night for a while. And then sometimes we were allowed to go along to Wilkin while the folks shopped. We went to the show.
So, these shows, how much would it cost for you to get into?
I don't know, maybe a quarter.
So not very much.
Yeah, that wasn't very much.
Was it something like we have today where you could go into a show and get some popcorn and a
Yeah.
soda? And...
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Did your family have a radio when you were growing up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember some of your favorite radio programs?
Well, there's these soap operas, and Fibber McGee and Molly, Amos and Andy. Just can't recall anymore now. The Lux Theatre, that was a show, like came on every Monday night. It was like you had to listen to a show. There were other programs like comical ones. I don't think we ever listened to any, what do they call them nowadays, these not war shows, mystery things. I don't recall that we watched that, because we could only watch a certain length of time, because it was operated on battery. And then the batteries go dead, and you have to go and get a different battery or take it to town and get it recharged.
Do you remember what type of battery they ran off of?
Just like these car batteries now.
How often would you listen to the radio?
Well, we'd listen every day. I don't think we'll listen in the daytime. Just in the evening, see.
Was it something like family? Excuse me, I'm sorry. Was it something like family entertainment in the evenings after supper?
Yeah, you could call it that, yeah.
Let's see here. How old were you when you started or went on your first date?
Oh, I don't know. How old was I? Well, about 18 maybe.
Okay. Do you remember who took you on your first date?
I can't remember that. Can't remember.
Okay. Besides the school dances that you've talked about, did the towns have dances on the weekends? Did any of the Revenue or Wilkie have town dances?
Well, see, in Revenue they had dances, but they were more for the parish, the whole community.
What were your parents' feelings towards dancing? Were they accepting of dancing?
Oh yeah, they went to these dances. They went as a family.
What was healthcare like when you were growing up?
There was no health care. When you got sick, you went to the doctor or to the hospital. Simple as that.
Was there a doctor in town?
Not in our town. Well, early years in Trampoline there was one, but not in Revenue. But we had to go to Scott. That was the nearest doctor.
Okay. Do you remember anybody during your childhood getting really sick or being injured?
Well, I remember my brother that died the oldest brother that died, he had pneumonia and was in the hospital. I remember that. And he passed away on that pneumonia.
Do you know how long he was sick for about?
It couldn't have been very long, maybe 2 weeks or whatever, if that long.
How old was he again?
Oh, he wasn't quite a year when he passed away. And of course, Mother went there to have the babies. And a brother and a sister had their tonsils out in the hospital. I don't remember ever that I ever was in the hospital that when she was born. So.
What about eye care? Was there such a thing back then?
Oh yeah, but I think the nurse came around to the school and tested your eyes some way, and then if you were visible defects or something, you went on your own, like to an optometrist. So I remember I was 15 when I got my glasses, and I had to go to North Battleford to this optometrist.
Was that pretty expensive for your family back then?
Probably was. I don't recall what it cost, but it probably was. Money wasn't that plentiful in those years.
What about the dentist? The dentist for your teeth?
The nearest dentist was in Wilkie. That's where we went to, yeah.
Okay, so you did go to the dentist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Was it now I think they recommend every 6 months. Was it something like that?
Oh, no, you just went when you had a toothache or broke a tooth maybe or something. There's nothing like they have nowadays. You have to go, like you say, every 6 months and get checkups. And you only went when you had to. Yeah.
Did you ever have to go?
Oh, yes. I guess got tooth pulled or whatever.
Did they have stuff to numb it back then so it wouldn't hurt as bad
yeah.
when they pulled it? Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
I think they had needles then already.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Over the break you mentioned that a relative was struck by lightning. You want to
Yes.
talk a little bit more about that?
My dad's oldest brother, that was the oldest in the family, when they moved from, was it Prelate or whatever we said before, up to the revenue district, they built a new house. And there was a lightning storm, like there was one last night, and him, Uncle Lambert, like, and his helper, the carpenter, they were in this house that they were building, and they were leaning on the windowsill watching the storm, and lightning struck him. He was only 22 years old, was he? Oh. I was going to see, he was the oldest. Dad was born in 19... I think it was something like that, eh? Or was it in 1922? I forget. It was 22 something. Should have looked that up before. But he's buried in Revenue Cemetery, eh? And he already was married. He had a wife and a 6-month-old daughter. So that was something hard for the family.
Another thing that we need to add to this is the story of cow patties.
Oh, well, everybody did that in those days. Well, especially those that had to buy all their wood to burn. And then in the summertime, the kids were sent out to the pasture with the gunny sack. You picked up all the dry cow patties. What you didn't burn, you stacked in the outside shed for later. And it would burn, it'd burn quick, but it gave you awful hot heat, like the heat was there for a long time. And of course it gave a lot of ashes because it was...
You had mentioned that sometimes they wouldn't be
ripe.
Right?
Yeah. Some they looked dry and tall. We picked them up. They weren't dry on the other side.
When you burned those, did Did they give off an odor in the house?
No. No.
Tell me, before we turn to your how you met your husband, tell me what a traditional wedding was like when you were growing up.
Well, it was usually held in the bride's house, bride's family's house. And they serve dinner and supper. And then they have a dance right there in the house, That's the way it was. And then they get chiveried. Like, you know what a chivery is? Some people in the community would get together and come around and make this noisy. And then they had the bride's father, whoever, would go out and give them a drink or something to eat. And then they go away. Or come in and have a dance with the bride. And later on, of course, they rented halls and had all the doings out of the house. And of course, not that many people were invited, usually just the bride's and groom's families, and maybe uncles and aunts, but no younger kids,
So it was just an adult activity?
Yeah. Well, there was not room for any more, in a house.
How did you meet your husband?
Well, I knew him quite a while already. I think when we really got to know was my uncle married my husband's cousin. I guess from then on we knew each other better. But like I said before, when we come home from a softball game at the school one time, and they were there too, him and his friends. So I invited him, why don't you come around sometime, So after that they came. Well, I mean, not every day, not every week.
How long did you? How long were you courting before you got married?
Maybe 2 years, at least.
Okay.
At least.
What year did you get married in?
1947.
And you had mentioned earlier that your sister married his brother?
Actually, 3 of us married. My brother married my husband's sister, and my sister married his brother.
How did that all come about?
Just happened.
Just happened? Okay. 1947, that's right after the Second World War.
Oh, yeah.
How did the Second World War affect life in Canada for you guys?
Well, there was ration. You couldn't get gas, you couldn't get sugar or jam or something like that, You had to have coupons to, well, if you were a large family, it helped. Each kid got a coupon, coupon book. And, well, we all had to register, like in case they needed you in the war, you get called up. But none of us had to go.
In Canada, do even the women have to register?
Yes, we all had to
Really?
register. As soon as you got 18, we had to register at the post office. I remember that. So, I think it was 18. And then they asked you sort of questions. Can you knit? Like, and stuff like that. You could knit for the war, I remember that was one question. I don't know what else was on there.
Did any of your siblings have to
No,
serve?
no.
How about your husband and his family?
Well, he just got his call. He would have had to go if the war wouldn't have ended. So, but a lot of the neighbors' boys had to go.
So you courted for 2 years, and then in 1947 comes the wedding. How much planning did it take to plan your wedding? How much planning and preparation time?
Not very much, like I said before. It was just the grooms and the bride's side. Usually the bride's side, well, they used to share half and half. You pay half the wedding, we pay half the wedding. That's the way it was. And, well, we had our wedding at the house at home also. We had dinner and supper. We got married in the morning. That was the tradition that time. Not Saturday nights.
So the wedding then was not in the church.
Well, yeah, we got married in the church,
Okay.
but the reception, I should say, wasn't the home. No.
Okay. 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 So, what time of the day would the wedding actually take place, where you'd say your vows?
Usually about 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And then after that, you would go to the house for the reception and the
Yeah,
celebration.
for dinner, yeah.
Okay.
And supper. And like in our case, we had to dance at the school.
Oh,
You
okay.
know, where more people were invited then.
So what would you do? Just clean out the school, move the desks, or
Just move the desks to the side and pile them up.
did you have decorations and stuff?
I can't recall. The school was decorated. Probably not.
Did family or friends play music for the dance?
Oh
Or?
yeah, we had a band, yeah,
Okay.
which happened to be my husband's cousin was once one of the bands.
What type of foods were served at your wedding?
Potatoes, hamburgers, I think, chicken probably. Yeah, two kinds of meats like chicken and hamburger, and vegetables.
Was alcohol served?
Yes, at alcohol.
What type of alcohol?
Well, probably just beer and wine and maybe hard liquor too.
Was it homemade stuff or?
No, this was bought for our wedding.
Okay. How about money dances? Did you have a money dance or anything like that?
When you went at the house?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't think anybody knew about that. Where if you wanted to dance with the bride, you had to pay 10 cents or something, eh? And then you were allowed to dance with the bride. Three short dances. That was it, eh? Then somebody else wanted to dance there, they'd say, pay another 10 cents, play another 3 dances. And of course, somebody would dance with the groom too at the same time, but usually they wanted to dance with the bride.
Would that money go to the bride and groom?
That probably went to the musicians.
Okay.
Mm.
How about were there any other types of traditions back then that would go on between the bride and groom that you would do on your wedding day, like something we do today, throwing the bouquet and?
No, we didn't do anything like that. Okay. Well, probably was going on in some, but not at ours.
Your wedding dress, did you make that or did
No,
you buy it?
I bought it, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember where you bought it from? Was
Mm-hmm. I bought it in Wilkie at Mrs. Wally's. Of course, that store's a long time gone, so is the lady. Yeah, and I had silver shoes. Mm. I think that wedding present pictures in the back bedroom. So,
Did your husband wear a suit?
a suit, yeah, no tuxedos. And the best man was in both our cases was our godfathers, like the men that we had when we got baptized. You have a godparent, eh? Mm-hmm. We both had our godparents, or godfathers. And for bridesmaid, I had my sister and my cousin.
Did you have a flower girl?
No,
or?
I didn't. No, we didn't have any.
Okay. Let's see here. Is there anything unusual or unexpected that took place at your wedding?
I don't think so. I think everything went to schedule.
And then did you go on a honeymoon after the wedding?
No, couldn't afford that.
So what did you do the day after the wedding?
Probably cleaned up.
Is there anything else about your wedding that you would like to share with us?
No, like I said, we didn't go on a honeymoon. We moved in with Fred's parents. And that's it. Till we moved to on our own.
You made your own wedding cake?
Yes. And I don't know how many I made after all the sisters in the family. And then outsiders, yeah, too.
So was it like a traditional, what you think of a wedding cake? Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
But it was really, it's really a fruit cake.
Oh. So, did you have a photographer at your wedding?
No.
No.
We had to go to Wilkie to get our wedding picture taken.
Did you do that after the wedding or before the wedding?
At the wedding day,
The wedding day.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Usually the afternoon after dinner, And we didn't have our picture taken with the bridesmaids or the best, it was just us
Just
two.
you
Yeah.
two. So is that something you had to pay for?
We had to pay for, I don't recall how much it was.
Okay. Asking you a few concluding questions about your childhood. What was the most stressful childhood experience that you had?
Gee, I can't recall anything more stressful than the other thing. Well, we didn't know any better. It was there money, it wasn't there. We had what we needed, and it's not like nowadays you need money for everything. And there you did without. You didn't know any better. You shared your clothes. You got new clothes every fall, and what was there to be stressed out about?
How about one of your happiest memories, your happiest childhood memories?
I guess they were all happy. Can't recall anything different. Like I said, we had clothes in our bag, enough to eat. And what else did we want?
And the most adventurous?
I don't know, maybe when I got married. Had to leave home, huh?
When you got married, what did your parents think of your future husband when you brought him home?
He thought that was okay.
Yeah.
Didn't have anything against him. So
And what did his parents think of you?
I don't know, I never asked them. No, they accepted me, eh? Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll ask a couple concluding questions, and then I think we'll be wrapping it up. Why do you think it's important to tell your life story?
For the future generations, I think. Yeah. I now have a great grandson, so who's going to tell him if I don't? Eh?
What's his name?
Ethan.
Ethan. That's him right there.
Yeah.
4 generations.
Yeah.
And then, are there any?
No,
other...
it's not fourth generation, third. Myself, you, and Rich. Yeah, fourth. Yeah, fourth generation. But this isn't it. This is his parents and
Oh, okay.